Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to talk about like a couple of different things, but I'm just basically going to do like a clean with me while I'm talking about them. I've been getting so many questions about binky weaning, so many questions about transitioning Bentley from the crib to the floor bed way back when, and also a lot of questions about like what it's like to have 2 under 2 and like how I do it, you know? So I'm basically just gonna do like a clean with me and like chit chat and like talk about all of those different things, because I put some polls on my Instagram story to try to figure out like if I wanted to do a specific video for each topic or if I wanted to put all of the topics in one video, and the consensus was everybody wanted everything. So we're just gonna do one video, picking up the house a little bit, tidying up, and talking about those things. So let's get right to it. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is the binky weaning. How we did that, how we started, and how it went for us. So we are completely off the binky now with Bentley, and we did it around at 16 or 17 months. I think it was more around like 17 months. He's almost 18 months. Anyways, we did it, you know, kind of around that 1.5 year mark. And for a little while, we started with just limiting the binky usage to when he really needed it. So only really whenever he slept, or sometimes in the car if he was like screaming. So first we did that for a little while just to kind of get him to be a little bit more independent and not relying on it so much just for like everyday comfort, if that makes sense, and only giving it for sleep. So we started with that, and he did pretty good with that. He didn't really notice a difference, except for maybe like we would up snacks. So whenever he would get kind of fussy, like we would just give him a snack, and that kind of seemed to keep it at bay. Or I would just have to like spend a little bit more time like regulating his emotions. So yeah, that's how we started. And then at one point it was just like, we just kind of realized that for us personally, there was never gonna be a day that he was just gonna give it up. You know what I mean? It was never gonna be like easy. One day we just went cold turkey with it for like sleeping, so for like all around. And so I took it and I made sure that I hid them nowhere he can get to. Like they're literally in my dresser drawer in the top one so that he can't see it, he can't reach it, out of sight, out of mind. He's known from the beginning which binky is his brother's, and it's never been a problem. He's never tried to take that one other than like the first week that Graham was home. So even still now that he's off of it, he never puts Graham's binky in his mouth. If anything, he grabs it and brings it to Graham. So luckily that hasn't been an issue for us. But yeah, so we just went cold turkey on it, and I mean, like, I'm not gonna lie, like it was a little bit difficult the first couple nights probably. Like it was a little hard just because he was like confused, and he was like looking around and like trying to find it, and he would like point to his mouth and like be pointing around like where is it, trying to find it. And so it just like, it hurt my heart. But I've seen a lot of people say that like it's harder on you as a mom than it is on them. And so I was just like trusting that, and I was like, this is for his own benefit, like this is for his own good, and like I know he doesn't understand, but this is what's best for him, you know what I mean? And so we started with that, and I'm not gonna lie to you, we also give him a stuffy. So he does really, really well with the stuffy. Now he's really clinged onto it, and he's always like holding it in his arm like this. And he'll like, when he used to run around with the binky in his mouth during the day, now he's running around with the stuffy. So he loves the stuffy, and that has helped him significantly. I know people have their opinions on like stuffies being in the bed or whatever, but like for us, that's just what works best. And he's proven time and time and time again that if there's a problem, he's gonna get up and move himself. Like he doesn't have a problem with that. So, and he's right at that age that like you can start introducing it. So we let him have his stuffy at night, and he does really, really well with it, and it doesn't ever pose any risk of suffocation or whatever. But people have their opinions about that, and that's okay. You're entitled to your opinion, and you don't have to give your kid a stuffy if you don't feel like it's safe. Every kid is different. Some kids aren't, you know, ready for that, but he is. So he does really well with that. Lately he's not really having a problem unless he's trying to sleep somewhere else. So he does really good sleeping here. Like he's back to regular naps and regular like nighttime sleep. It's not a problem. But if we try to say put him down for a nap at his grandparents' house or something, then it's a little bit more of a fight, and it's just like he kind of has these little like panic attacks. And I don't know if it's binky related or just like age related and like anxiety or something like that, but it's also just like he doesn't really take naps at anybody else's house, so it's just like a new thing. So it could very well just be that and have nothing to do with the binky, but I'm still fairly confident that if he had the binky, it probably wouldn't be as big of a problem, because he'd have a different, like his normal source of comfort, if that makes sense. But yeah, it really, really hasn't been that bad for us. I would say at a maximum, it took like 3 days for him to like really fully adjust and be you know, completely off of it and fine without it. So I hope that that gives you some peace of mind that like it really might not be that bad, because I was so scared. And then I was just also scared with how we just had another baby, and I was like, well, there was a lot of like life changes and I didn't want to do like too much change at once, yada yada yada. And I think it was good timing for us. You know, Graham's 3 months old, and I just think that he's had enough time to adjust to that, and he's had time adjusting to not being in the crib, and so it was just like the right time. It was like the next step. That was how we did that. And I know some people probably are looking for some perfect recipe to make it easy, but honestly, it's gonna be a little bit hard for you, and you might just have to do cold turkey. Sometimes there's not an easy way to, like, I don't know how to explain it, but sometimes there's just not an easy way to ease into it, you know? I know some people wait until their kid is a little bit older so that they can like kind of be a little bit more interactive in it, and sometimes they'll have them, you know, like throw it away and say goodbye to the binky, or bury it in the yard and something cool will be there in the morning, or like things like that. But we just didn't feel like that was the route for us. Other people also cut the tips off of binkies, and depending on the type of binky that your baby uses, there's also stuff like at Target that's like a binky weaning like system to like gradually get them off of it. And you can totally try all of those. There's nothing wrong with any of those options. It's just not how we chose to approach it, and I feel like it went well for us. Okay, so the next thing that we're gonna talk about is the toddler bed transition. That was also something that we just kind of like full throttle cold turkey did, because with that I really feel like there's not a way to like ease into it. But I will say that I had the same anxieties that a lot of you have shared with me about like the baby falling out of the bed or things like that, and so that's why we chose a floor bed as opposed to the ones that are like an inch or two off of the ground. So that was a good decision for us, and he loves it. He honestly started sleeping so much better once he understood that it was his bed, which it literally took one night. Like it was one night that I sat in there for like maybe an hour, like maybe, and I just, you know, was rubbing his back, and I was talking to him, and I was like, baby, this is your bed now, like, and just kind of explaining to him whether he understood that really or not. I mean, I was just, you know, getting him drowsy and getting him to understand like, this is your bed, we're gonna stay here, etc. And also made sure that the entire room was as baby proofed as it could possibly be. And he honestly doesn't really get out of bed. Like he still stays in his bed when he wakes up. Most of the time he waits in his bed, except for the mornings. He'll walk to the door and wait at the door. But when he's taking naps and stuff like that, like he just stays in his bed, and he'll sit up and he'll just start talking. Like he'll be like, ugh, and he'll start like talking to his stuffy, or sometimes he'll grab a toy, but he never goes and messes with anything, if that makes any sense, which is also something that I was worried about, which is obviously like valid and normal to worry about. But yeah, he hasn't really had an issue with that at all. He's done really good. The one night it was like, he didn't even put up a fight or a cry. He was just confused, you know? So I just stayed in there and I just comforted him and like helped him understand. And it was really good for us. People ask me signs, like they'll try to ask me, you know, like how did you know he was ready? And you can obviously talk to your doctor about it, like your pediatrician, and see what they say. But there's a lot of different things that can like indicate that like it could be time. One of those things being like them crawling out of the crib. If they're like crawling out of the crib or starting to try to, you don't want to wait until it gets to the point that they do and they fall over. So if they're actively always trying to get out of the crib, that's a good sign that it's time to move. Bentley had really chonky legs, and he would get his legs stuck and like start freaking out and then get it like super stuck. And it was just like a really consistent problem that we would have, and it would like send him into like a panic attack almost. Like he would start freaking out that his leg was stuck. And so it was just like interrupting his sleep more than anything else. And he's really tall, and he likes to like sprawl out and spread out. So having this bed, he has, I mean, it's the same size. Essentially, like it's still the same mattress that he had in his crib. So it's the same size, but it's more open. So he feels like he has more space, and he really likes the independence of it. And he likes being able to like tell me that he's tired. Like when he's tired, he will literally just go crawl into his bed and like lay down. And I'm like, oh, okay, like you need a nap, you know? So it's been really beneficial for us. Like I have absolutely zero regrets about switching him over to that bed. And if you just have this like pulling feeling in your heart that like it's time, like then it's probably time, because that's how it was for me. It was just this like gut instinctive feeling that like it was time. with stuff like that, honestly, my best advice is to just not overthink it and just do what feels right, do what feels best, and talk to your doctor about it with any concerns, and asking them, you know, like kind of what steps to take to make sure that it's like safe and all that stuff. So that's my best advice on that specific case scenario. Also, side note, this little corner of our house is always a complete mess because of painting stuff for the bedroom. And it's literally a nightmare. Like, I wish I could get rid of it, but I can't because we still have to finish painting. But it's driving me insane, just like the clutter over here, like nonstop. Also, I've been getting so bad about throwing diapers away, and there have just been diapers stacking up everywhere. So I need to get my shit together and like stop doing that. We just, as of yesterday, started transitioning the boys into sharing their room. Honestly, for nothing other than experimental purposes. Some babies do better like separated, and some babies do better together and feeling like they have a buddy, feeling like they're not alone, etc. And so last night, for the first night, we put Graham in the crib, and he did really good, honestly, and so did Bentley. It was a little bit hard for them to get to sleep because one of them would make a noise and it would like freak the other one out. But after like 5-10 minutes, they were literally both knocked, and I was like, okay, perfect. So that went really well. Graham obviously woke up earlier than Bentley, but it did wake him up, but just barely, and he went right back to sleep after we grabbed Graham. So it went really well, and right now they're both taking a nap in the same room together, and they're doing good. I was really worried about Bentley getting up out of bed and going and like messing with the crib or messing with Graham, but he hasn't done that at all so far. I'll update you if he does, but that's also been going really well. That's something that's been like really like heavy on my mind, and I've been like unsure of when to start it, but this is the age that we started switching Bentley to his own crib and his own room. And so I was like, I feel like it's time to like kind of help Graham start that process. And so I was like, we're just gonna do it and kind of see how it goes, you know. Surprisingly, that's been going well. The last thing that I'm going to talk about is how 2 under 2 really has been, and like what the struggles of it are, and also like what things aren't as bad as I thought they would be. So I was really worried about establishing a routine and just kind of like figuring out what the new norm was going to be with both of the kids. And I was really worried about, you know, like getting them both to sleep at the same time, or when one is awake and the other one needs to nap, like how I'm going to do that. Oh my gosh, excuse me. And all I can say on that is like there's no like explanation for it, but it just hasn't been that bad. Like it just really hasn't been that bad. The things that I thought would be hard aren't, and then some of the things I thought would be hard are, like when they're both crying at the same time, like it's really overwhelming and overstimulating. I think one of the absolute hardest parts that I am, you know, constantly finding myself talking to Charles about is the sheer fact of when one of them is like really struggling and just like having a really hard time and really needs me, but then the other one is like getting jealous of that attention and then starts also freaking out and needing me. It's just like how to divvy up my attention and comfort. Like that's the hardest thing. So I just try to focus on like when one is sleeping and the other isn't, giving that one that's awake my undivided attention. And that's been kind of helping. And it's also, you know, like everybody just has to adjust, you know what I mean? So it's just something we got to figure out, but that's been really hard. It has just been like when they both need me at the same time. Like a lot of times it's not like that. Like a lot of times they'll be content and they'll be fine, but it's definitely hard sometimes whenever they both need me at the same time and they're both crying at the same time, or like when they both need to eat at the same time. Like I try not to right now since Graham has bottles and Bentley has like normal food. It's kind of hard to like be feeding Bentley and feeding Graham. So I try to get it to where they like don't overlap. So like I'll feed Graham and then I'll feed Bentley. But sometimes if the schedule just doesn't like fall like I want it to, and they're like are both hungry at the same time, that's also difficult. Really the only other part of like having 2 under 2 that's difficult for me personally is that I also work from home. Like I'm not just home with them. Like I do have work and stuff that I have to get done sometimes, and that's also just kind of hard, like because I can only really do it when they're both sleeping at the same time, like this for example. Like it's just really hard if I'm not doing just like a, you know, like a day in my life vlog or whatever. Like if I'm doing like actually other content, or if I'm working like through emails or working with my manager on any brand stuff, like I can't really get that done whenever like they both need my attention, you know what I mean? So finding my new routine just in terms of, you know, being a stay-at-home mom but also a work from home mom, like that's also been a little bit of a challenge just for me to figure out how to tackle everything and also still put myself first in the sense of having time to go to the gym and work on my body and feel strong and happy with myself again. So that's been a little bit difficult as well, but otherwise things have really, like, they've been good. Like, I have been light years happier than I was with my first postpartum experience. Like, this postpartum has been nothing compared to that, and I have a lot more like support in the way that I need support this time, which has been great. But really, I just think at the end of the day, what it comes down to is that you trust yourself so much more. Like, I know while you're pregnant, it's like there's no way, like, it's so scary and you're so like nervous and there's just so many unknowns, but once you're in it and you're living it, like, you have so much more trust and confidence in yourself because you've done it before and you've done it well. And you just gotta sometimes sit back and think of all of the things in life that you've been like, there's no way, blah blah blah, and then there was, and you did great. And that's what this is gonna be too. You're gonna do great, and it's gonna be amazing, and your heart is gonna grow, and you're not gonna think it can, but it will, and it's gonna be so much fun, and watching the babies bond together is gonna be amazing. And yeah, I just wanna like lift you up, because like, I know a lot of you want me to talk about like the struggles and the things that are hard to prepare you, but it's really just the simple dual of it, and having two things to do at once. Most of the time it's not at once though, so it's just that you're constantly doing something. You're constantly changing a diaper, you're constantly feeding someone, you're constantly playing with someone, but it's harder when it's overlapping and they both need it at once. That's when it's hard. Like I said, you figure it out. Like, your instincts are so incredible, and you will figure it out. So I know that this is like kind of a short video, but life is really busy right now, and I have so much to fill you guys in on as soon as I can, and I'm so unbelievably excited to share it with you. But for now, you're just gonna have to trust me that we're about to embark on a really fun journey, and it's gonna be so much good content, and I'm so excited. But I love you guys. I hope this was beneficial to you in some way, shape, or form. If you have any other like specific questions, I will be heavily watching my comments on this to try to answer them all for you to the best of my ability. I really want to be here for you guys. I love you guys so much. My Instagram DMs are always open, and yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. I know it wasn't like a crazy cleaning video, it was more of just like a chat with me, but these have been some of my biggest questions, so I just wanted to kind of like talk about it all in one place. And yeah, I hope you enjoy it. I hope you feel at ease, and maybe it helped you. So yeah, I love you. Thank you for watching. If you're not subscribed, make sure you're subscribing, and I'll see you guys next week.